Ladies and gentlemen, in a economy where interest rates are going up, people are more sensitive about their money. They're ringing up and talking to their mortgage broker. They're ringing up and talking to their accountant. So we thought no better time to bring on Harry, BAGOSSIAN accountant. Stay tuned. We're going to talk about how to determine a cash flow positive property. Stay tuned.
Good morning, gents. Harry, thank you for joining us again.
Good morning.
You're our first guest appearance of 2023.
Oh, excellent.
Very happy to have you on. Even the viewers are.
Oh, great. I see Luke's happy.
That's it. Yeah, this morning we're talking about how to identify cash flow positive property, which I think is pretty big in this market. I was talking to Mark off air. I mean, does a cash flow positive property exist in the resi world anymore? And if so, how do you find it? It's certainly difficult.
Well, that's the big question, isn't it? How do you find it? So we'll go through that. So there's a big misconception about when you see an advert for a property, you know, it's getting 500 a week, and you know, on a monthly basis, that's $2,000 a month. So, you know, you think that you're going to get $2,000 in your bank account each month. Well, it's not actually the case. Yeah. So what I do, and I find works, is I multiply the monthly figure that's on the advert, or what the real estate agent tells me in regards to comparable rentals in the area, and I times that by 0.7. So I say roughly on $2,000, 1,400 is going to hit my bank account each month, right after expenses. Yeah. So, and then what that does, it tells me what mortgage level I can borrow on top of that, expenses, on top of those expenses that will make it positive. So on 1,400 with interest rates at 5%, I've worked it out at $350,000. The loan amount will make it cash flow break even.
Right.
You went a bit fast on that last bit. So I got that you trim the income.
Yep.
So you've trimmed it 30%. Yeah. So
Yep.
you're trimming it 0.7, and then you
Yep.
do what?
And then I've said on a loan of $350,000 at an interest-only rate of say 5%, because most banks aren't giving you anything below 5% at the moment. That gets you roughly to about $1,400 a month in interest cost. So you're going to be break even on a loan of $350.
How did you get the 350 though?
Well, the $350 is based on the $1,400 is what's I've got left over after expenses. So
Yep.
the cost on the $350 is roughly $1,400 a month, interest only.
Is there a multiple you can use on that 1,400 to get to the 350?
There would be, but I just work it out as what the banks are giving you from an interest perspective, and then multiply that by the loan figure. Yeah. So,
Got it.
but that's how you would do it, and it's important that you understand that concept, because you don't want to go into something where it's not going to be positive for you. But again, it comes down to, you know, a lot of these properties probably don't give you a lot of income, but they may give you some capital growth. Yeah. So these properties might grow more than some properties that they give you that good yield. So this is where you got to talk to people like, you know, Novak and agents that you're comfortable with, and work out what's best for you.
I've got a question. So it's quite hard to find a property in our suburbs for 350, especially on the resi side.
Well, that's the loan amount, Billy. So just bear in mind, that's not the purchase price. That's the loan amount.
Yeah. So would you be better off at looking something commercial if you're looking purely rental yield?
I think so, yeah. I mean, the commercials have a lot better rental yield on that basis. But again, as I said, some of these properties that don't give you that good yield will grow a lot better than properties in other areas, right? So it comes down to what your long-term plan is.
Mark, what are your thoughts?
I find that capital growth normally represents double what the rent, what that percentage yield is. So if your percentage yield is 5% and your capital growth is 10%, like where you sort of got to choose your battles. Are you going to be like just chasing yield and yield only and compromising capital growth, or are you going to be going for one or the other? Are you guys getting a bit of a screeching on the side?
Yeah, a bit of feedback. Yeah.
I don't know what that is. Yeah, so I like, for instance, if you go and buy in a suburb like Manly, it's always going to be a really low yield, but the rent's not going to be performing well compared to what the loan's going to be. But you're just going to smash it on capital growth. But then you can move to other parts of Sydney and your rent's just through the roof, but it won't go up as much in price. So I think you got to choose your battle.
Yeah. And I think finding a property that's your cash cow is important. Whether it's a commercial or a large residential or something that will support you when things, are not working, So having a cash cow property that will give you that yield to allow you to invest in other properties and so forth is important.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah. Try not to get caught up in
Hey,
the
Harry,
first.
what are people talking with you about now, the last couple of months with interest rates going up? What's a typical conversation you have with people when you go, and you sort of, I'm hearing this all the time.
Yeah, look, I think a lot of people are concerned about the so-called mortgage cliff they're talking about, where a lot of fixed rates that took place 2 years ago are now sort of coming undone. Maybe July, August, September, we'll see a lot of these fixed rates come off and move to variable. So a lot of these rates were probably doing 1.89, 2.25%, and now it's going to be a figure with a 5 in front of it. So, on $1 million loan that you took out probably 2 years ago or 2.5 years ago, you're going to see your repayments go up by about $2,000 a month on average.
That's a lot.
So you can see how much that's going to hurt families if they've got, $1 million resi loan.
Yeah.
So
you're having these conversations?
Yeah, it's common. A lot of people are getting ready for it. With how to manage it. But yeah, Luke's right. Rents are on the rise. That'll help as well with a lot of these interest rate rises. So rents are going up by, I think, 10%, Mark, are they on average across the state? Yeah. So, that does help. So people got to be mindful of that and talk to your agent and see what best you could do.
I got another one for you. If back to the positive cash flow side of things, if you can't nail something that's positive, is negative gearing just as good?
Yeah, look, negative gearing is good from a tax perspective, where you'll get the benefit when you lodge your tax return, but it doesn't allow you to grow your property portfolio quickly. Positive cash flow allows you to borrow more, buy more, and invest. That's why people love positive cash flow property.
I see.
Yeah, but if the capital growth's going through the roof, then that allows you to buy another property.
Correct. Yeah, you could use the equity to correct. You could use the equity to borrow more, but then you got to hopefully ensure you've got enough money coming in to cover or service the new debt.
Yeah, right. Got it.
Yeah. Yeah.
A couple of comments there from Luke. Rents are up 27.5% in Brisbane over 12 months, around 18% in Sydney.
18% in Sydney. So there you go. Yeah. So.
Big spike.
Yeah, and look, something that people, because there's a lot of numbers being thrown around this morning. Like, if someone's rent goes up 10% and they're getting a 5% yield or 3% yield on their property, if the rent goes up 10%, they're getting a 3.3% yield on their property. And the interest rates have done a lot more than that. So even though landlords are getting more rents, it's nowhere near covering or topping up. Topping up, you know what I mean? Like, even if it goes up 20%, your 3 goes to 3.6.
Yeah, it won't make too much of a difference. But long term, I mean, I guess when the banks gave you loans, they always estimated it at a higher rate, so they made sure that you could, pay off the mortgage if rates did go up. So there is that control there. The banks don't assess you on the current rate; they assess you on the future rate. So,
capital growth, cash flow helps you hold.
That's a really good point. That there is a blanket there that's been built in, and particularly Harry, I spoke about it with Stefan Bublo last night. If someone's on a fixed rate, they've been assessed at a higher rate recently.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, to get a loan on a fixed rate, 5 years, 3 years, or 2 years, you would have had to be assessed 3 years, 5 years, or 2 years ago. And at that point, they were putting a buffer of 3-4% on top.
Yep.
I've got another question for you.
Sure.
Mark, do you reckon people might stay away from your traditional resi purchase a little bit more as things get tighter if it's not being cash flow positive?
They do, but they're gonna need almost twice the amount of equity to purchase the commercial. Okay. So the deposit is twice as much than what they'll need. They'll do an 80% LVR on a resi, and they'll do a 60% LVR on some 65, 70 on commercial. So you need a lot more equity.
Yeah, interesting.
What do you reckon, Harry?
Yeah, no, I agree. Yeah.
You don't know. You don't think we haven't seen in the past people start to buy out of Sydney though. Queensland obviously has been super popular.
Oh, look, I think that's an option for people, but again, what's the capital growth you're going to get in Queensland compared to Sydney, right? So that's something people need to weigh up. And as we spoke about before, equity allows you to buy more, right? So if a property's gone up in value over 3 years, 5 years, allows you to buy more. I'm not sure what the capital growth is going to do in Queensland compared to Sydney. Usually Sydney goes up a little bit more than the other states. But again, it comes down to the investor and what their balance is in their portfolio and how they want to adjust that.
It's good. Very good.
Harry, before we go, what would be the message from an accountant out to our clients out there that are watching this show? What's the one sort of takeaway or ethos or stuff that you've been quoting a lot in the last couple of weeks and months?
Yeah, look, last couple of months, probably over COVID, there's still a lot of lag in regard to ATO debt that's sitting on businesses' books or even personal accounts with the ATO. So if you are looking to refinance in 3 months or 6 months, try to clear that ATO debt out, because banks hate ATO liabilities and they want you to pay that off before you refinance. So that's one takeaway that would be good today that I've seen in the last 3 to 6 months that's happening.
Clean up your backyard.
Yes, clean things up. Reduce the limits on your credit cards. Just get ready for refinance.
Yeah. Scary
Billy
times.
Bob, any questions before we go?
I don't know. Is it scary times ahead for those people, Harry, or is it expected?
What's that? Sorry.
Is it scary times ahead for those people coming off fixed rates, or was it expected? Is it
I think
manageable?
it's a bit of an unknown, but I think it's manageable. As I said before, the bank sort of estimated a higher rate for most borrowers. So unless something drastic's happened in that family household, then you would think that people will be able to pull through. I don't see interest rates climbing too much more than where they are now. I think that it will be catastrophic, but I think things will level out a little bit over the next 12 months, 24 months.
Yeah. That's a adjust.
There we go, gents.
All right.
Thank you very much, Harry. Stay on the line. Don't hang up, and we'll roll out with the show. And everyone, thanks for watching. Thanks for coming on, Harry.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Billy.